Oh, do you know what? I'm actually pretty teed off about this. I know a lot of you probably thinking, this guy probably round up most of the time. He needs to chill out a bit. Not true. I'm a pretty chirpy, cheerful sort of guy most of the time. I do occasionally get riled. Now, I think, a bit of background, and you'll see where I'm coming from. Now, the Daily Telegraph is often known as a Tory graph. That's because it's not really a newspaper. It's essentially the in-house journal of the Conservative Party. It is, for those of you who are historians, maybe, what Pravda was to the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. It just regurgitates propaganda for our ruling party. Now, our ruling party, I think it's worth emphasising a bit of context, is the party that's been running this country now for 13 years. A tremendous success it's been for all involved. Now, this is actually so annoying. I'm going to go for a walk after this. It's quite a nice evening, to be fair, which is for the best. Now, Sam Ashworth-Hayes, obviously a double barrel name. Now, he's assistant comment editor of the Daily Telegraph, which, as I say, is the in-house journal of the Conservative Party, which has been running the country for 13 years. Now, he's already written, Britain is a poor country determined to get even poorer. How's that happened after 13 years of Conservative rule, Sam? What's gone wrong? Given your parties, we'll come on to that. He's now written, if you're under 50, it's time to jump ship. Get out of Britain while you can. Literally calling for a mass exodus of most of the British population. Why is that then, Sam? Why would they need to do that? The country has been run by the party that your paper has zealously, manically and passionately supported now for 13 years, noisily demanded that everyone votes for them, said over and over again that if the Tories didn't stay in power, then all hell and chaos would break loose, that we'd be eating dogs or something by next week, that the country would be totally ruined, that even the mildest suggestion of any reform was deranged extremism. You essentially portrayed Ed Miliband as a raging communist, and now you're telling tens of millions of your fellow citizens to flee their country for their dear lives. Any self-awareness? I don't know, any apology? Any kind of, hold on a minute. If we've been screaming at the population, they've got to support the Tories because, frankly, the future of the country depends on it. But now we think the country's in such a calamitous state, we're saying, run for your lives, get out while you can. Maybe something's gone wrong with our judgment. Maybe somewhere along the line, all the things we argued this country needed and it depended on for its future survival, essentially, as we know it, that maybe something's got a little bit wrong in what you were suggesting. Now, let's just read what he has to say. As the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, Britain led the world into modernity. Today, it seems determined to do the opposite. I mean, if we're going to talk about deindustrialization or the trashing of industry, I mean, any famous names come to mind? I don't know, do you think Thatcher marked some sort of renaissance of the Industrial Revolution? Entire communities built around industries ruined. And whilst in other countries, the high-tech booms, renewable energy, we'll come on to that, green jobs like in Germany, but also other countries which try to harness kind of future technologies, we didn't do that, did we? That's the problem, which is why we instead built a hire and fire service sector, which the country became dependent on. Who did that? That was your party. They did that, Sam. That's what they did. Now, it goes on to say, it's politicians happier mouthing platitudes about net zero than they are getting on with growth. Yeah, here we go. Because it's actions to tackle the climate emergency which are trashing growth. I mean, not only, obviously, if we want to use platitudes, I'll throw in, there's no growth on a dead planet. Our future depends, in terms of growth, on renewable energy, because that is one of the key industries of the future. You can see in Germany what they've done. Instead of just letting their communities go to rot, because old industries do go, they do decay, the economy changes, technology changes, all the rest of it. What you need to do is you need to focus on industries that can't be easily exported abroad, where you get a thriving research and development sector to support those industries, and then you can provide well-paid jobs which support people and their families. Now, if we'd invested far more in renewable energy, then that's the kind of growth that this country could harness. A green industrial revolution, if you like, Sam. But that's not what we did. That's the problem. And this idea that there's a collision course between seeking to prevent our planet from being trashed by mass heating. I don't know if you've noticed the weather recently, Sam. I don't know if you've seen what's been going on around the world. Not great for growth, extreme weather events. We're going to have more of those. Sorry to break it to you. But obviously, if we invest more in renewable energy in this country, rather than let other countries run ahead of us, then obviously we'll create lots of jobs and more economic growth. Oh dear, oh dear. Now he says things like, we invest far less of our GDP in machinery and buildings than other rich countries, and the effects are showing. Who's been in power for 13 years, Sam? Who's been in power? Which party? And which party did you all pay? Again, I don't want to repeat myself here. Don't want to be as repetitive as the Telegraph in your partisan support for the Conservatives. But answer the question. It says stuff like, throughout the 90s and early 2000s, the prosperity of Australia and the United Kingdom tracked one another. Today, Australians produce in real terms, $8,000 more than their British counterparts. Same question, Sam. I'm going to keep asking it over and over again. The truth is, this country has been properly trashed by the Conservatives. Properly trashed. I don't think you would be writing articles in the Telegraph calling for a mass exodus of your fellow citizens if you believe the opposite. There's consensus between me and you, Sam, because we both think the country is in an absolutely terrible state. The difference is your paper called over and over again for us to support the party which has been in charge of the economy, in charge of everything, in fact, for the last 13 years. So the difference, I suppose, in both of our approaches here is, whilst we agree the country is in a terrible state, though I'm not going to call for a mass exodus of the British population, which actually wouldn't help, because you're calling for a mass exodus of people under 50 who are the most likely to oppose the Conservatives. I prefer people to stay here to kick them out. That would be a good start. I'm not saying Labour have everything sorted, but I think anything's preferable to, anything, but pretty much anything is preferable to the Tories right now. I think the difference is, what you called for is why we're in this mess. Your party, what your paper called for. Now, I did reel off some basic. I'm just going to reel off. I wrote a column about how the Tories have spent the last 13 years trying to blame migrants for everything to deflect responsibility from us. The fact that the average Briton is set to be no better off in 2026 than they were in 2008. That the poorest fifth are more than 20% poorer than their French and German counterparts. The economic growth under this party, horribly weak, and particularly compared to other countries. An unprecedented slowdown in the nation's productivity levels since 2010. Hospital waiting lists, record highs. Multiple housing crises, mortgages going up. Private rents going up. Lack of security in the private rented sector. Lack of council housing. All of them chewing at our living standards and security. Our rip-off privatised infrastructure, which your party sold off. Creaking trains, leaking water pipes, and all the rest. I've not even mentioned energy bills. Offering rip-off prices for rubbish services. The fact that the social infrastructure of the country is collapsing. Libraries, 800 closed in the 2010s. Nightclubs, a third vanished in the last 3 years. Our town centres, deserts of shuttered windows, pound shops, and US candy stores. That's the reality. I'm just giving some examples. We could go on, by the way. We could go on about the state of this country. That's what your party did. Today, I saw this whole contrived and big hoo-ha over what the education secretary said about how in 10 years' time A-levels are, people won't be asked about their A-levels and all the rest of it. Didn't see the problem particularly with what she said. But what I was angry about, which Labour should be going on about, is what they did to sixth forms. I'm proud of my education at sixth form, but those sixth forms have been trashed. The point is, it's endless talking about what the Tories have done to this country. Where's your sense of responsibility? How can you work for a newspaper which browbeat us, demanded hysterically that the only way to save our country from ruin was to vote for the Conservatives? And then you say, well, the state of this place, everyone needs to flee for their lives. I'm going to go for a walk. Do like and subscribe. Do support us on patreon.com/OwenJones84 and listen to us on the podcast. I'll speak to you in a calmer form soon.